White Day Labyrinth Named School is one of those games I never thought would actually get a remake. I remember downloading and playing the original game back when I was in secondary school, and even though I remember it being a somewhat enjoyable game, I never finished it and ended up forgetting about it as time moved on. Then a few months ago, I stumbled upon this teaser trailer on the PlayStation YouTube channel and I was honestly surprised. White Day is getting a remake. I was confused because I haven't seen anything White Day related in years, and with that I told myself, hey, it might be worth a purchase by the time it gets released. I then found out that this remake has actually been out since 2015, but on mobile. Current gen consoles and PC is basically getting the update version of that mobile remake. So, when I could, I purchased a copy on Steam a few days ago and played a couple of hours. As you can tell from the title of the video, it wasn't a good experience. But first, let's check the game's back cover and see how it tries to sell itself. Dare you brave the notorious Korean horror classic? I find this odd. Using the word notorious makes it sound like the game is bad in some way, as if this game is well known but for all the wrong reasons. Perhaps I'm looking into this a bit too much. Then it describes itself as a horror classic, which is obviously referring to the original and not the remake, unless the remake thinks it's already a horror classic, which would honestly be an ambitious thought at best. Moving on, the game then says this: carefully stealth through a haunted school by torchlight. I just want to say now, for those looking forward to carefully stealthing their way through a haunted school by torchlight, well, you don't actually get a torch. From what I remember anyways, you get a lighter. So they lied to you on the box. But let me actually get serious here for a second. You will be trying to maintain a certain level of caution and stealth when playing through this game. White Day's style of gameplay is simple and tame compared to other horror games like Resident Evil 7, for example. From what I played, you'll be searching room to room, looking for clues, picking up items, and then solving puzzles that allow you to push the story forward and unlock new locations within the school. Though this game isn't all about exploration. Let's move on to the next point on the back of the box. Run and hide from killer stalkers and malevolent phantoms. Near the very start of the game, when you're crawling through an air vent, you're introduced to one of the janitors, and to be honest, his introduction is laughably weak. You witness the janitor beating a student to death, and it just looks comical. There's no blood or anything of the sort. It's very tame, and maybe it's meant to be since it's a kid being beaten to death. And perhaps they can't make it too graphic or something like that. But still, it doesn't get away from the fact that this moment falls short on how shocking and brutal this scene should really be. To be honest, you could replace the sound of his bat with a squeaky toy, and it'll have the same effect. But then that janitor isn't seen for a while and you soon run into this old bastard. This guy right here, probably one of the most annoying enemies I have ever dealt with in a horror game, and one of the reasons why I refunded this game. The way this janitor operates, his AI, is just plain annoying and actually put me off playing the game. The gameplay itself is the usual stay low and be quiet tactics that you'll expect in a game like this. Don't sprint around, don't leave the lights on, blah blah blah. You know what I'm talking about and you know it makes sense. But the janitor is just awfully annoying and hypersensitive at times. Once the AI has been triggered, so has the awkward cat and mouse gameplay, where you run to the nearest toilet and hide for a few minutes until you hear the jangle of his keys fade into the distance. Even then it's confusing because sometimes it will sound like he's right outside wherever you're hiding, but he's actually down the hall and on the left staring at a wall or something stupid like that. The sound often doesn't match with his place in the environment, making you hide for longer than you need to. It's just off. What makes it even worse is that sometimes you can get stuck in the environment too, not being able to move through doorways when crouched, which is obviously a big problem. Also, it seems that the multiple patches this game has had since release have tried to rebalance the AI of the janitor for the better, but in my experience this has only made him worse. Check this example out. Alright, there's a few more rooms I can check out in building 1. How did he spot me? Wow, that's bullshit. You know that's bullshit. Just how? How did he clock me, you know? The janitor is nowhere near me and still somehow spots me when I'm already down the hall. Granted, I am standing up and walking normally, but let's be honest, no way should he have spotted me in that instance of gameplay, and I never really had any problems like this before the 1.05 patch. Most of the classrooms being locked at the start of the game also doesn't help. There's a limited amount of space to evade the janitor, with most doors and stairwells being locked at the start of the game. If the main part of the game is to search for items and try and solve puzzles, constantly getting interrupted by the janitor in a limited amount of space and having to run to the toilets to hide from him is just annoying. This game really does test your patience, and if the AI wants to be a bellend and hang around and confuse you with the misguided audio, then you won't be having a fun time. Next, we have the ghosts, and at the start of the game, there's only one you should worry about. It's Yep, basically just an image. This is both lazy and uninspiring. It almost reminds me of those horror flash games I used to play as a kid when an image will quickly pop up on the screen to scare you. What's annoying about this ghost is that it can also cause damage to your character. I guess it's understandable, but the main problem is that you often have to break into a sprint to escape, meaning the janitor may hear, meaning you may have to hide in the toilet again. So you can either take the damage and heal afterwards, or sprint away, knowing the janitor will most likely run after you and cause a very boring chase sequence to begin. It's a gameplay loop I never want to experience again. On the topic of ghosts, you may also encounter this locker ghost, which is actually turned into an achievement. Find 10 locker ghosts and you win. Though this just undermines the ghost itself and turns the whole thing into a farce. Basically, the game isn't very scary. At most, it may make you jump when the .jpeg appears on screen, or when the locker ghost comes screaming out for the first time. I can see why White Day would be considered a cult classic. The premise is interesting and it takes place in a spooky environment, but I just don't have the patience for the lame ghosts and annoying janitor. The stealth and chase sections are, to be honest, a joke, and I didn't even really care for any of the characters even when I put a few hours into the game, and I was honestly trying. Maybe the game is for you, and you know what? Why not give it a go? It's dead easy to get refunds on Steam, and maybe by the time you're watching this video, perhaps the AI has been fixed and the game is better because of it. Who knows? In any case, I'll catch you guys next time.